Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second Nourish to Flourish webinar. If this is your first time joining us, we're so glad to have you. And if you attended last month, welcome back. My name is Gina Ringelstein, and I'm one of the clinical dietitians with the Stanford Lifestyle and Weight Management Clinic. I'll be your moderator for today's session. A few housekeeping details before we begin. Today's webinar is being recorded, and it will be posted on the Stanford Health Library YouTube channel along with the PowerPoint slides. You'll also receive an email after the session with a link to the recording, so you won't miss a thing. If you have questions during the webinar, please feel free to add them to the Q&A chat box located at the bottom of your screen. We'll review those during the Q&A portion at the end of our webinar. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing my colleague, Shirley Siu, who is today's presenter. Shirley Siu is a registered dietitian nutritionist and a board-certified specialist in obesity and weight management. As a valued member of the multidisciplinary team at the Stanford Lifestyle and Weight Management Center for the past 6 years, Shirley has provided personalized counseling to a wide range of patients. She specializes in creating individualized, practical nutrition strategies and lifestyle plans that empower patients to meet their health and wellness goals. Today, Shirley will be leading us through Protein Palooza. You'll learn how to prepare your own protein-boosted recipes as we demystify protein supplements and show you how to enhance everyday meals with quality protein, no matter your budget. So with that, Shirley, take it away.
Thank you for the intro, Gina. And again, welcome to our Nourish to Flourish series. Topic today being Protein Palooza, where we'll talk about shakes, bars, and ways to add more protein to your day. Before we get started, I'd like to poll the audience. You can scan the QR code with your smartphone or tablet, or you can type in the web link. I'll give everyone a few minutes. The question is, how do I add protein to my diet? Let's take a look at the results. I'm seeing actually some surprising results with using high protein foods in the recipe, taking the lead. The second, using a high protein shake or bar. All right, well, that helps me guide the rest of this presentation today, since I will be talking about those exact same topics. Now, most of us are able to get protein from the foods we eat. Foods such as rich protein sources, meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy. But some of us, for example, older adults or those with diet restrictions, or perhaps lower appetite, wound healing needs, may often struggle to reach the recommended amount. And in that case, you're looking for other ways to get your protein in. In the recent years, the rise of anti-obesity medications have perpetuated this trend, leading to many products on the market. Or in our clinic, we counsel this is a common reason we counsel people to add and increase their daily protein by using a supplement. But the potential benefits of having a higher protein diet or using a protein supplement, there's some potential benefits include maintaining muscle, improving fat loss, typically in combination with diet and exercise, usually to achieve a healthy weight. It can prevent loss of skeletal muscle and strength for older adults, and using a high protein diet or protein supplements can help maintain muscle mass during acute illness and hospitalizations. And for those with diabetes, some studies have shown improved insulin response of consuming a whey protein supplement shortly before a high glycemic meal. There are so many different types of protein shakes and powders. We use when we are advising someone to choose or use a protein supplement to help reach their protein goals for the day. We use the guidelines of between about 100 to 200 calories a day, less than 5 grams of fat per serving, and less than 20 grams of total carbohydrates, less than 5 grams of sugar, and between 20 to 30 grams of protein. There's different types of protein shakes and powders. They break down into complete sources and what I term near complete. And both complete and near complete protein sources will help with building muscles, healing, and many different important health needs. Now, there are some more specialized protein supplement products out there, and such as collagen and branched chain amino acids and creatine. And for those particular supplements, they are not recommended to be a sole source protein use, right? Because, for example, with collagen, it is found in your joints and your skin, and with studies shown there's some modest benefits that it can improve skin elasticity. But when it comes to, if you've noticed some of the collagen products, it will not say muscle growth or strength. So that wouldn't be the type we recommend for increasing your total protein intake for the day. But it comes down to, with the different types that are available, whey and casein are the two most popular, with whey being probably the most popular. But in the last few years, plant blends have really risen up as well. Some of the other less common plant proteins are singular and plant source, but they can all be helpful, and it comes down to what your needs are. When it comes to shakes versus powders, we have the advantage with pre-made protein shakes of being readily available. There's no mixing required, so there's that convenience. And in terms of taste, they're creamier, smoother, and they're quite convenient. You can grab and go. But pre-made shakes do have a cost factor. That's the downside of pre-made shakes. They do tend to be more per serving. Because it takes storage, so stores don't often carry that many flavors. If you are trying to bring your protein supplement with you to travel, you have that liquid restriction, at least for when you're flying. So they're heavier. You can't quite, you can maybe bring one with you. When it comes to protein powders, the advantages are that it can be readily available now, probably more than there used to be. They are shelf stable, although so are pre-made shakes, but they are typically shelf stable longer before opening since they're dried. There are a lot more flavors. The stores are able to carry, it takes less storage space. And in general, the cost per serving is much, much lower. And if you are bringing with you to travel, they are easily packable. Now, the downside of choosing your protein supplement in the form of powder is, unfortunately, it can be a little bit gritty. Now, the whey has that advantage, and they do dissolve a bit better when mixing. But it depends on whether you're using a blender or not, type of liquid, anything else you're adding to it. And it does take some pre-planning. If you bring your powder with you, if you're bringing it to travel, you need to have a blender or using a shaker bottle. And they may not have as many flavors. But I think the pro in most oftentimes these days with the grocery bill and just thinking about costs, I tend to suggest using a combination of both to fit your needs. The second most popular way to boost your protein intake for the day is protein bars. Now, protein bars are very, very different when it comes to compared to protein shakes. When I was reviewing the current products that are out there, I noticed the trend from, last time I reviewed this is the calories in some of the bars are a lot higher than they were several years ago. Now, this makes it a little bit less flexible in terms of what you can use the protein bars for. However, there's a lot of pluses when it comes to using a bar. The limits to the bars are, as I said, higher calorie, and because of the type of ingredients they need to use to formulate it into this solid, palatable option, the majority of protein bars do contain sugar alcohol as the sweetener. And for those who have a nut allergy, there's a lot less options for you. As a lot of the protein bars can mostly contain peanut or some type of nut or almond flour. Now, the pros with the protein bar is easily packable, so similar to kind of a protein powder. You don't have to prepare it. And if you are struggling with like a sweet, sometimes a craving, a lot of these protein bars use, like a nut or salty ingredient and, real chocolate. So it can help satisfy that craving. And because it's a solid and not, a liquid form, you can feel more full because you're eating solid food. But I think predominantly with the higher calorie and in general, the fat content tends to be higher. It can help make you feel more full. And they also, though, and compared to protein shakes or powders, are able to incorporate a lot more dietary fiber. Now, choosing between the different options, I often struggle to help someone decide, even with my many years and work of experience, helping someone decide what is the right option for them. Is it comes down to so many factors. You really need to think about whether you need, so a dietary need, whether you need additional protein, or perhaps are you already having enough meeting your daily recommended protein from the foods you eat, which most of us already are. And what are you trying to achieve when adding this? And whether it fits into your diet, whether this is a cost-effective option for you, whether in terms of resource and all of the reasons for using a protein supplement or protein fortified food. Really consider your activity level. Because even though protein is not a, compared to, carbohydrate or compared to fat, it's like lower calorie per gram. Protein ultimately still does have, provides energy and calories. So is this going to fit, or is this going to contribute to an excess of energy consumption for you for the day, and may result in, if you are looking, for example, to achieve a healthy weight, may result in you consuming extra calories that way. Really considering food allergies or intolerance here, because with the different types of protein supplements that are out there, or protein shakes or bars, they they are predominantly whey or plant-based. And if you have a lot of food allergies, there are such a large variety out there. You really have to look at the different ingredients. Going back again just to cost and access, comparing a typical, say, a pound of chicken, or these days, a carton of eggs, if you're trying to reach that protein goal with food, you get the other health benefits of using a whole food source. And you use a dairy or food like yogurt, for example, you get the added benefit of calcium and other nutrients in there. So first and foremost, do try to reach your protein goal by food, and then consider if this is something you're struggling with, how often you will need to, how much of a gap in your day of protein do you need to fill. From that, you can decide which type of product you're using. And the most important question that only you can answer as you try different products to make that decision between you and your healthcare provider or your dietitian is taste. But that's really comes down to, it's a subjective aspect. What I like, that's the top question I get asked every day is, which protein shake do I like? And my question always back is, well, what I like may not be what you like, but here are the things I suggest, and we can kind of go from there. So choosing things, and just remember, there are numerous, and now every day, more and more options out there to help you fill that need. And you don't have to stick with just one option. With that, I have a couple of recipes that I've been testing out and trialing out. And this particular one, I call it the protein PBB pancake, which is actually, banana. There's peanut butter powder in here. So I use a different source of protein, which you can actually substitute and change over, right? There's peanut butter powder. I used an isopure vanilla protein powder for flavor. I also added an egg and Greek yogurt. Now, if you have any food or dietary restrictions, you can adjust or substitute those ingredients by combining to make a recipe, which I can't quite tell, you can see here. Made this earlier, so it looks a little less appealing than it did a few hours ago. But what I really liked about this is this does use oats. So if you are looking to add some fiber, there's just some whole grains in here. It does have 3 grams of fiber. There's a relatively low sugar. If you want to reduce the sugar, you can change the banana, reduce that amount as well. But it is a very high protein and relatively low calorie breakfast food, which can be a struggle when you're trying to, typically traditional breakfast foods are it's either egg for breakfast or not a lot of other options, especially these days with the egg shortage. So this came out pretty well, and to me, it didn't even require additional sweetening, because the banana and that bit of vanilla flavor already gave it a really nice flavor. A couple of other recipes I was trying out. This particular one, a black bean cottage cheese dip, is, if you didn't add spices, is really just a 2-ingredient dip using black beans, which I always keep a can in the pantry, which is an excellent source of food protein. Some low-fat cottage cheese, and it made a really nice creamy dip. It does require a blender. Unfortunately, if you don't have one, you definitely need a blender for the bean aspect of it. But a bit of spices and the lime juice really brings it out. So it's a really nice. I made this last week and had it on the side with shrimp taco night at home. So it was instead of a bean side, I had that dip and it came out really well as well. And it's a very low, relatively low cost on can of beans and cottage cheese. And it comes out to, for a small serving, about 108 calorie serving, 9 grams of protein here. So this recipe, I didn't add any additional protein powders to that, though you can. Lastly, I wanted a way to just present a dairy-free, egg-free version of that. So I used some shelled edamame and a little bit of tahini to make this edamame hummus. If you don't like cilantro, you can skip that. I happen to like cilantro, but basically, and some spices and a little bit of oil here. And with this recipe, I did use a 1 serving of a plant protein powder, which brings this particular recipe to 9 to 10 grams of protein, depending on which plant protein you use. So with this one, it is dairy-free, egg-free, and as you can see from the 3 different recipes that I've reviewed, there's just so many different ways you can get a moderate amount of protein relatively easily. Now, I'd like to poll the audience again to see if what we talked about today changed how you will, or whether you will add more protein to your diet as well. Go ahead and use your tablet or your smartphone to hover over the QR code again, or you can type in the web link on your browser. I'm seeing here a little less protein. The protein bar response is about the same as earlier, a few more adding protein powders to recipes. So hopefully you will, next time you decide to add some protein to your day, think about the different ways you can do that, whether you need to do so. Perhaps try out one of the recipes. And with that, thank you for listening. And I hope to see, I will be moderating for the next one. So next, apologize, I will not be moderating, but I'll moderate the next one. Please join us again on May 21st for meal planning. Thank you.
All right, that was so awesome, Shirley. Such a protein-packed webinar, and I'm sure we're all starting to think about different ways to maybe incorporate protein powders, protein shakes, protein bars, and we are going to kick off the Q&A session. So if you haven't entered a question into the Q&A part here in the chat box in Zoom, please do so now. We'll try to get to your question if possible. There's lots of questions coming in. And so to kick things off with our first question, For Shirley, the first question is, how would you recommend using an unflavored protein powder?
Yes. With the edamame hummus, I actually did use an unflavored protein powder, but my unflavored protein powder has a lot of flexibility. Personally, I think that you can use it in pretty almost anything. If you're using a whey source, it does add a bit of a kind of a creamy milk-like flavor. So for dishes that you are a little bit stronger tasting, uh, I mean, a scoop of whey protein is not very much. So in anything you want to bump up, I've used it in when I've had some leftover vegetable soup and I just didn't have my, there's a lot of leftovers happening when you work from home, right? So, I don't have any protein at home and I'm eating a salad and having some soup and just really need a little bit of protein boost. That's a good way to do that. Soups and stews are a great way, but I know, given it's summer, it's probably a little bit less popular, in which case putting it in a beverage is probably the primary way. But when unflavored is my number one suggestion if you really don't like taste of just any kind of sweetener, because you really control the flavor there. You have a natural kind of sweetness, and with things like plant-based unflavored powder, you're going to get that, either kind of that slightly pea, kind of a malty flavor. So really test them out to see and try it out on a variety of different things. And it's most of the time you can barely taste it.
Wonderful. And I would definitely highly second the idea of adding an unflavored protein powder to a beverage. It's a great sneaky way, nice and compact. So that's a great tip there, Shirley. And the second question is, are there any ingredients in a protein powder that we should look for or avoid?
That's a really good question. That ties me back to the aspect of cost. What I notice in terms of ingredients in protein powders is the higher cost, which is anywhere from $5 per serving of 20 grams. It can be as low as less than 50 cents. Usually comes down to the additions. A lot of the ingredients on there outside of standard vitamins and minerals may be a variety of many herbal supplements and ingredients. Now, as with all supplements, it's not particularly, supplements are not regulated as stringently compared to food. So the different variety of the claims and food claims and the amount of different herbal supplements in there. So it can be, the variety is high. And if you are taking medications for health, or this is a supplement you're planning to suggest to a family member, really you want to caution against you choosing a supplement that has like a long list of ingredients you don't know outside of whey or casein or plant or vitamins. I think that would be the thing to watch out for. And the other is, of course, allergens, knowing what your allergies and sensitivities are. I mentioned sugar alcohols early as well, and that's predominantly in protein bars. Now, sugar alcohols have significantly less calories, but they do have some calories. Unfortunately, downside of sugar alcohol is can cause some bloating, and if you consume sugar alcohol in excess, then it actually can other less desirable GI effects as well. So you want to watch out for for those particular other ingredients. I think that's all I can think of.
Okay, that is fantastic. And for our third question, there's many, or I should say several questions that people are inquiring about. How much protein should we aim for in a day? Like, where do we start?
And the amount of protein a day for general health for an adult is for most people between around 60 grams a day minimum to uh, you know 80 or 100, and that will meet your needs for basic health needs, so regeneration, healing, um, but starting somewhere around there. We use kilograms when we talk about, and when we use that to calculate a specific an individual's needs, which would convert to 0 0.8 grams per kilogram of your weight. If you're your weight, you're in a little bit higher of a weight class, we typically use an ideal weight, which goes back to the 60 to 80 grams a day minimum.
Excellent. And I think we'll wrap it up with this last question, which is a very popular question in the chat box. So, individuals are wondering that there's a general recommendation to avoid ultra processed foods. So, why would we consider adding protein powder, shakes, and bars when aren't these considered to be processed as well?
That's a really good question. Then, which is why I finished off with the talk with comparing recipes where you're actually utilizing real food, if that is a concern. I think when it comes to using eating more protein, using a scoop of a powder shake, a lot of it's a matter of convenience. But when you do have higher protein needs, um, it can be challenging to get it from food without also getting a lot more calories as well, because even when it comes to whole food, you still have things outside of protein, right? Chicken has, or beef has, or dairy has higher fat, certain aspects of food that you know when you look at protein, it's not singular. So when it comes to using a supplement, if you're only trying to up the amount of protein, that is a good way to do that, because you simply, when the advantage of the processing is it does take out the majority of like the lactose or sugar, or a lot of it does take out, maybe not all, of the fat. So you are able to singularly increase that amount in a recipe or dish without also everything else that comes with it, right? But there are a myriad of different ways. I think these days when we think about processing in general, just I used to be able to say, and I'm old, so my age is showing. that I learned from not eating foods that are eating foods that are not in a package, right? The foods that you can see and touch. Ingredients lists are short, but I think in terms of food source these days, with the convenience, there are even a standard to prepared meal, not frozen, that will come in a package. So I think that definition of processing has changed a lot, but it is important to know when it is still important when you're looking at any package, understanding what the ingredients are in that package, so you know what type of processing has happened. Um, I think other end of that, and I won't go off to that too much, is just a matter of food safety. But I always feel like having something like a protein powder shake, it actually makes a nice emergency ration that you can keep for relatively long time as well, relatively long time, and it is something to have, just like bottled water, some other considerations that ways you can use that. But the processing part, that's really the only way they can isolate a food. So yeah, so take that into consideration, like truly think about whether using a bar or shake is something that you want or need in your day, or are you able to change your day, plan your meals, perhaps with assistance of a dietitian to help you plan out how you can with food source, increase, the amount of protein in your day, and then have, only occasionally use that protein supplement or bar.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for attending our webinar today. As a reminder, the recording will be posted next week on the Stanford Health Library under the Lifestyle and Weight Management recorded lectures. That will also come with today's PowerPoint slides. We really look forward to having you join us next month on May 21st for our next webinar featuring Meal Planning Magic Part 1. So thank you for coming today, and we hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.